Hi, welcome to Raising Holmes. I'm Sharon, and today we're going to answer the question, is Ryanair really that bad? Now, I'm guessing that you're here because you've either recently booked a Ryanair flight or maybe you're considering booking one, whether it's because of the unquestionably cheap ticket prices or maybe it's the only airline available or flight available for the destination and date that you want to travel. We've all heard stories about Ryanair. I'm pretty sure that everyone has heard about their notorious hard landings. We recently went to Portugal where we travelled with Ryanair, so all of the information I'm going to give you is very up to date. It's fresh in my mind, so hopefully you're going to find this really useful. In this video we're going to cover, do Ryanair really charge fees for everything? Is priority boarding worth it? Are Ryanair flights always delayed? Is there enough legroom? Are they good flights for kids? And are the landings as hard as you've probably heard? So first up, do they really charge fees for everything? Well, yes and no. You get what you paid for. You may well be used to paying one price for a ticket and it includes everything. It includes your baggage allowance, your seat, everything. But Ryanair have broken it down so you can choose to pay as little or as much as you like to get the experience that you want. Our flights out, if we'd booked just the standard tickets, would have just been £12.99. That's in pounds, which is amazing. That just includes your standard bag. They're 40 by 20 by 25, which is an unusual size. It's quite long and thin. So do check your bags, because we found that all the backpacks that we normally use did not fit in that size. So we decided that we would allow the kids to take a small backpack each, and we would just I took my handbag, my husband, I don't think he took anything actually. So then we opted to pay for an extra bag. Now, when you go through the booking process, they do ask you to upgrade everyone in your party for, I think it was £36 each, in which you get a bag each. However, we didn't need that. We just wanted one checked bag. So if you skip past that onto the next page, it gives you the option to just choose how many bags you want per each person, and you pay individually for those. We had one checked bag, which cost us £25 each way, so it's £50 altogether for us to take one suitcase up to 20 kilos, which is plenty for us. We like to travel light. We were only going for a few days, so that was perfect. I do think it's a bit strange that you pay more for a bag than you do for a person, but that's Ryanair. You do have to pay to choose your seats. I think adults get one free choice, but then we had to pay for the children, and obviously we wanted them to sit next to us. Something else we noticed while we were away was priority boarding. Now, we chose not to pay for priority boarding. Priority boarding with Ryanair is not worth it, because so many people opt to pay for priority boarding. I think sometimes it's included in the upgrade, so you get your bags included, but it's really not worth it, because more than half the passengers had priority boarding and they were allowed to go onto the plane first, which you'd think would be great, except that they ended up all queued up out on the tarmac waiting to get onto the plane, in the rain, in the cold, whereas we, who didn't have priority boarding tickets, got to queue up inside in the warm and dry. And as it was, we literally followed them straight onto the plane. So unless you're really bothered about getting on first, it really isn't worth it. On the way back, it was pretty much the same story, although we were all outside on the tarmac, but that was great because it was sunny and it was warm. So I think it depends on the weather conditions, but I honestly would not waste your money on priority boarding. The next commonly asked question, or things that people say, are that Ryanair flights are always delayed. Our experience was that they were not. The flight out, we actually flew just before loads of storms hit the UK. We did have to sit in the plane for 10 minutes before it went onto the runway to take off, but we boarded on time. So really that didn't matter. It wasn't like we had to sit in the airport for several hours to wait for the plane. It was there on time, we got on time, and on the way back there was no delay whatsoever. It flew at the time it was supposed to. So I don't think that's true. I think obviously there's going to be occasions when there is a delay, but that could be said for any airline. The next thing that is a concern for a lot of people, not myself, I'm very short, but if you're taller than me, then it is a concern for you, and that is leg room. Does Ryanair have a lot of leg room? Typically it's a small plane, so there's not going to be an awful lot of leg room. Some seats do have more room than others, so do check that out. When you are booking your seats, you can see which ones have more leg room, so make sure you book the ones that you need. But you can see here that I and my children had plenty of room. The guys on the other side of the plane, they were obviously a lot taller than me, and their legs were very close to the seat in front. I guess that would be a lot more uncomfortable. So really it's quite subjective, but any small plane will have very similar leg room. We've flown on other airlines before, such as EasyJet, and it's just the same, to be honest. I don't think that's specific to Ryanair, so just be careful with the seats that you book. Okay, next up we've got, was there space for the kids to play and get comfortable and to keep them happy? And we are very lucky that our children are fantastic flyers. They stay in their seats, they occupy themselves. We typically let them take a few toys. If we're going on a longer flight, I will pack surprises in their bags so that it keeps them occupied throughout the flight. This time round we allowed them to have their tablets. We downloaded films for them to watch beforehand, and as you can see, they literally just sat and watched their tablets the entire time. Although on the way back, Callista did lay down on her seat and she laid on my lap and she fell asleep. So for them, there was loads of room. They weren't bothered. No complaints from them at all. They really enjoyed it. Okay, so here's the thing that most people are interested in, and that is the landings. You've probably heard that Ryanair have very hard landings. Before we went on, I thought I'll keep an open mind. I didn't tell the kids, obviously, didn't want to scare them, but we did record the landings both when we got to Portugal and when we came back to the UK. I have to say that when we landed in Portugal, it was a bit of a hard landing. You can see from the video that when it landed, we landed with a bump, and there's a scream on the video, which is actually my middle child, who's a great flyer. I'm not sure why. We found it quite funny, but yeah, it was quite shocking. It was quite hard, but it was just one big bump and then that was it. We were landed. On the way back, obviously different pilots. We landed in the UK. It was quite windy, but couldn't have asked for a smoother landing. It was really good.
It's right there. That was a pretty good landing from Ryanair.
I think with the landings, there are a lot of factors that can affect whether or not you're going to have a hard landing. It could be down to the pilot, it could be down to the weather conditions. So it's a bit hit and miss. Maybe there are more hard landings with Ryanair, I don't know. I've heard that their pilots are typically younger, so perhaps that's a reason. But it really wasn't as bad as I thought it might be. So yeah, don't worry about that. If you have any questions about Ryanair that I haven't covered in this video, please do let me know in the comments below, because we would love to help you out. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, please do subscribe. We're going to be posting new videos every week, and we'd love to see you on our channel. Thanks. Bye.
Nope. No. 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 No.